I have this habit of reading about things. When I lived in Maryland, I used to work in a school called Delaware Valley College outside of Pennsylvania, and I used to travel up and down the Pennsylvania Turnpike through Hershey and places like Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. And so I stopped in Gettysburg once, and I, interesting enough, learned a little about something about Gettysburg, which I knew, but I didn't know when you have the opportunity to actually stand there and see it in person. For those who don't know, I am Lamar Thorpe. I am the 41st mayor of the city of Antioch, and I'm proud and honored to serve during our 150th anniversary here in the city of Antioch, our sesquicentennial. And the city continues to experience rapid growth, being one of Northern California's fastest growing cities, and one of San Francisco Bay Area's most racially diverse cities. And so we're proud of that, about the growth that we're experiencing and the diversity that exists in our community. Part of that diversity also includes 5,445 individuals who are veterans here in our community, including myself, out of an estimated 115,000 residents here in the city of Antioch. Only 5,445 are current veterans. So we're proud of all of them. And today, there is actually less than 1% of the U.S. population that is currently serving in the United States Armed Forces. That's a small group of people, but all of us share in the honor and privilege that it is to serve our country. Not everyone is willing to serve, to give their life for their fellow countrymen and women. And so, as we recognize, of course, those who have served and given their lives, I want to take a moment to really thank those who are currently serving and those who will be serving. I know Captain Moorfield's son is here. He's about to go to Annapolis as he gets commissioned as a Marine officer. He was here somewhere. Okay. You can't miss him. He's your twin brother. And so those who go on and choose, I don't want to make this lightly, choose to give their life in defense of our nation. That's not an easy, and every veteran who's here knows that when you get to MEPS and you make that final signature, they remind you time after time, you could go to war and you could lose your life. Antoine Webster's smiling because he knows exactly what I'm saying. You signed the dotted line willingly to give your life in defense of this great nation. And so, it wasn't the American Revolution, it wasn't the War of 1812, and it wasn't the Mexican-American War, and it wasn't the countless wars the U.S. waged on Native people and Native tribes of this country. We are here today because of the Battle of Gettysburg, where the United States, the Union, beat back Confederate advances to the north, eventually ending the American Civil War and the enslavement of African women and men in our country. The battle amassed the largest number of casualties in the entire conflict. And it didn't go unnoticed, as this is where President Abraham Lincoln delivered the famous Gettysburg Address during the dedication of the Soldiers' National Cemetery, for those who gave their life for the rebirth of our Americanism and the meaning of freedom and liberty in this country. During his address, President Lincoln said that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, that government of the people, by the people, for the people shall not perish from this earth. The Civil War tested our nation to the point that it literally broke our country in half. It tested American will in its fight to build a more just and equal nation for everybody. And yes, people gave their lives to make sure that the ideas of yesteryear were placed in a museum where they belong. And yet, while not perfect, the fifth fold of the flag, not perfect, this is still our nation. We find ourselves here 150 years later, finally living up to that promise that Lincoln proclaimed in Gettysburg, that these dead shall not live, that these dead shall not have died in vain. And the reason I'm so proud to be your mayor is because our city is living up to this promise of having elected its second African-American mayor, for the first time ever, its first majority African-American city council, and having a population of African-Americans that make up over 20% of our population in a city that has not historically been open to black people. This is the true meaning of Memorial Day and what people sacrifice to make sure that every citizen in our nation has equality, is treated equitable, and has justice under our laws. That's what every veteran who has passed away since the Civil War represents. Thank you very much, everybody, and I look forward to laying the wreath in a few minutes.